My name is Dr. Ivy Branin. I'm a naturopathic doctor here in New York City, and we've been talking about sleep. We've been talking about sleep because it's so important for our immune system, and right now we want to make sure that our immune systems are functioning optimally. In the past 2 episodes of the sleep series, we discussed 2 different rhythms that have an impact on our sleep: the circadian rhythm as governed by melatonin, and the adenosine rhythm as governed by the chemical adenosine. Today we're going to be talking about another rhythm that also affects our sleep, the cortisol rhythm. And I know cortisol often gets a really bad rap. We blame it for our belly fat, high blood pressure, but cortisol actually has positive functions in the body. So we actually do need cortisol. Cortisol is really important for regulating inflammation, blood sugar, the way that we store memories, but it also has an impact on sleep because it has its own rhythm. So I'm going to show you this picture, or this chart, and this shows how cortisol and melatonin, the 2 cycles work together. So basically, if you look at this, this is what it looks like in a normal, healthy adult. Cortisol levels are actually the lowest around midnight, and then around 3 a.m., the levels start increasing again until eventually around 8:30 a.m., 9 o'clock, they increase and we wake up. Then throughout the day, cortisol levels decrease until again we are back at nightfall and we feel tired. So how that actually works is that basically when cortisol levels are very high, we feel up and awake, and when cortisol levels are very low, we feel tired. And the way that works is, so cortisol is an interesting hormone because it can be excitatory and it also can be inhibitory, meaning making us feel down or relaxed, and excitatory making us feel up and high or even agitated. And the way that works is when levels are low, they basically are more favorable towards our inhibitory receptors, and then when concentrations of cortisol are very high, they act favorably towards our excitatory receptors. So, one of the problems though, so we do have this rhythm that goes throughout the day, our cortisol rhythm, but the problem is that sometimes our cortisol rhythm gets dysregulated. And when it gets dysregulated, we can find ourselves having difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking too early, or worse, all 3. So why does cortisol get dysregulated, and what can we do about it if we feel like that's one of the reasons why we're not getting good night's sleep? So the first thing is, again, cortisol is our stress hormone. And so probably the most important things is that we want to make sure that we're dealing with stress during the day rather than bringing it into the bedroom. So if we're finding that we're just having more of a stressful day, activities like, or mindfulness activities, things like meditation, breath work, yoga, light stretching. We could also do journaling. Maybe we're artistic, do some artistic pursuits, having a nice conversation with a friend. Maybe if you're working with a therapist or doing some kind of reframing exercise, we want to make sure that we're dealing with stress during the day. So again, that we're not carrying that into the bedroom. The next thing, and we mentioned this in the circadian rhythm episode, is meals and meal timing. Now, specifically when it comes to cortisol, it's not just about meal timing, but meal composition. So basically the macronutrients that comprise each meal. And for favorable cortisol rhythm or regulation, our morning time meal, basically our breakfast, should have a higher concentration of protein, things like eggs, for example, and lower in carbohydrates. So don't reach for the bagel. As the day progresses, the carbohydrate composition of the meal should go up and the protein composition should go down. So evening meal, basically our dinner, should be a lighter meal with more carbohydrate, and that's much more favorable for lower cortisol levels when we need them, which are basically at night. The next thing that unfortunately, when we're stressed or bored or anxious, what do we gravitate towards? The 3 big ones: sugar, alcohol, and caffeine. Well, unfortunately, all three of these can increase cortisol levels and impact our cortisol rhythm. So if you've been finding yourself going towards these substances and have been having difficulty going to sleep, you might consider cutting down, eliminating, or at least monitoring when you're having them. Specifically, often we think alcohol is a great thing to have in the evening to like help us unwind and fall asleep. Well, actually it's increasing your cortisol and could be actually negatively impacting your sleep. So you might not want to actually have a drink before bed or even in the evening hours. And then the last piece, so we mentioned exercise again in the circadian rhythm episode. Well, exercise has kind of like both sides when it comes to cortisol regulation. So yes, exercise can be a really great thing to do to counteract stress, but it can also release cortisol, specifically very intense, active types of exercise. So we want to do more of our high impact classes or exercises in the morning hours when we want cortisol levels to be high. And then if we want to do some additional exercises, things like stretching or Pilates, light yoga, not like power yoga, we can do those in the evening hours because those types of exercises can actually help to lower cortisol. So hopefully you found that helpful. So just to summarize, again, when we're thinking about optimizing the cortisol rhythm to really help us sleep. So 1, dealing with stress during the day, don't bring it into the bedroom. Carbohydrates, so thinking again, high protein, not too much carbohydrate in the morning, but as the day progresses, having a more of a carbohydrate-rich meal, but a light meal as our dinner. Being very careful of the big guys, sugar, caffeine, and alcohol, as all of these do increase cortisol. And again, we don't want high cortisol before bed. And then the last piece, exercise. High impact exercise in the morning hours, if that's part of our routine, and more restorative relaxation type exercises like stretching and Pilates before bed or in the evening. Hopefully you found that helpful, and it's been such a pleasure with doing this sleep series, and wishing you amazing nights of sleep. Again, my name is Dr. Ivy Branin. I'm a Naturopathic Doctor here in New York City, and again, just wishing you all the best and really hope that everything that we've been talking in these past few episodes will bring you a better night's sleep. See you next time.